Welcome, everyone. It's great to see so many people online for our webinar today. As Ronan said, I'm Kevin Delaney. I'm the chair of the Academic Society of Engineers Ireland for this academic year. I'm also a lecturer in mechanical engineering and an educational developer for the Enterprise Academy, which is a joint human capital initiative project between UCD and TU Dublin. Engineers Ireland, it's the voice of the engineering profession in Ireland since 1835. It has over 25,000 members. Members come from every discipline of engineering, and it includes student members, chartered members, and fellows of the profession. The Academic Society is one of many networking groups within Engineers Ireland, and it organises a series of events, typically webinars like this one, throughout the academic year. It's open to engineers and non-engineers, members and non-members of Engineers Ireland. We have members from all the universities, the technological universities and institutes of technology, and we're always open to suggestions for future webinar topics of relevance to engineering educators. This webinar, it's the third in our series of webinars for this academic year, and it's focused on aligning second and third level education from an engineering perspective. As engineering educators, we must all consider how we can learn from the links between second and third level engineering education and the challenges faced by students and educators, and with a particular focus on the transition from the Leaving Certificate to first year at college. I'm really looking forward to hearing all our presenters, and with that, I will hand back to Ronan. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. So our first speaker today will be Richard Manton, Interim Registrar at Engineers Ireland, who will describe the attributes that the engineers of tomorrow should have upon their graduation. He will be followed by Catherine O'Sullivan, Engineering Research Fellow at Munster Technological University, who will describe best practice engineering pedagogy from both a national and international perspective, and how Rethinking Engineering Education in Ireland project at MTU sets to reform such practice. Catherine will be followed by Barry Convey, National Chairperson of the Engineering Technology Teachers Association, and he will describe how engineering technology and DCG is currently delivered at post-primary level. Finishing our presentations will be Kevin Gaughan, Head of Discipline of Engineering Science at TU Dublin. And he was a joint chair of a group which created a first-year framework for success at TU Dublin. And he'll share some of the lessons learned in the development of this framework. Our talks will be followed by a Q&A session where our speakers will be joined by Michelle Luby from TU Dublin, who will discuss how transition year programs such as Engineering Your Future can inspire second level students to study engineering. I'm looking forward to this event, and before I hand over to our first speaker, I would ask people that if you have any questions to please post them using the Q&A function, noting the relevant speaker you're addressing or posting the question to, because we won't be monitoring any questions to come through on the chat. So use that Q&A facility and we'll raise those questions at the end of this session. So let me hand over to our first speaker, Dr. Richard Manton, Interim Registrar at Engineers Ireland, responsible for accreditation, registration and regulation, who will introduce the graduate attributes from Engineers Ireland's research, professional titles, accreditation criteria, and international mobility. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you very much, Ronan, and thank you to the Academic Society for the opportunity to speak about graduate attributes. I'm going to address this topic arising from our work as part of Engineers Ireland's accreditation function. So I'll start by giving a quick overview of accreditation and then bring you through the graduate attributes. So firstly, to maybe the big reveal is that Engineers Ireland believes there are eight key graduate attributes. So that is 8 attributes of an engineer and how they can apply engineering to the delivery of creative solutions for the benefit of society. But before I go through those 8, I'd firstly like to give a quick overview of Engineers Ireland's accreditation function. Firstly, it's an outcomes-based process. That really what we do is to assess the graduates' knowledge, skills and abilities on the day that they walk out the door of the university, and again, how they can go on to contribute to the public good. We carry out our accreditation by bringing together a visiting panel. So that typically comprises academics and an industry representative. We then review the evidence produced from the program. So that would include exam scripts, continuous assessment, QA documentation, and so on. We then interview cohorts of students, graduates of the program, the employers of those graduates, and then we hold dedicated sessions with a variety of staff who teach and support the program. That really gives us a 360-degree of a program, really getting a strong understanding of the program and the graduates that it produces. Our accreditation covers a very wide variety of engineering programs, from the National Framework of Qualifications all the way from a level 6 higher cert up to a master's at level 9. It also covers universities and the technological universities and all engineering disciplines really right across the spectrum. So for example, just yesterday we hosted an accreditation visit at the University of Galway covering 12 engineering programs across 5 or 6 different engineering disciplines. We have been accrediting now for some time, for now going over 40 years, and we have over 200 accredited programs. So we do have a very strong history and heritage in this area. The benefits of accreditation, or why universities tell us that they've applied for our accreditation, is one, that it's a quality assurance mechanism, that really it gives confidence to prospective students, to current students, to their parents, to industry and others, that this really is a program that has met international standards and is relevant to the engineering industry. Secondly, that our accreditation then gives graduates the eligibility to apply for one of our professional titles, be that for chartered engineer, associate engineer, or engineering technician. Though I would point out that, of course, you do need to build up your engineering experience to develop that professional competence before you would go on to apply for a professional title. And thirdly, that our accreditation does open up the potential for international mobility to our international accords, which I'll show you in a second, and at the European level through the EURACE label. Again, this means that not only can our graduates travel internationally, but also that we can welcome in graduates of international programs into the Irish workforce. So just very quickly showing you some of the countries and jurisdictions where Irish accredited graduates can travel. You can see there in the dark blue, there are countries signed up to the European Network for the Accreditation of Engineering Education, NA. And then in the lighter blue, you can see the countries that are signatories to the Washington Accord. And you see in green there that Ireland is a signatory to both of those international agreements, again, promoting international mobility and the sharing of ideas globally. So our accreditation is carried out against our accreditation criteria, which are available on our website. Again, there's a range of accreditation criteria available there that you can maybe look through in your own time. These were reviewed in some depth in 2019 and 2020, with a new edition published in 2021. And today we'll focus in on what are called program outcomes, or essentially graduate attributes by another name. So I'll now quickly go through 8 of the 8 program outcomes that we prescribe in our accreditation criteria and that we assess each of the accredited programs against. The first of those is knowledge and understanding. So looking at the chartered engineer level, so that would be an accredited master's, that what we look for as a program outcome is that the graduates have advanced knowledge and understanding of the mathematics, sciences, data science, analytics, and other technologies underpinning their branch of engineering. So again, I think that is somewhat self-explanatory, and we do find that master's level engineering programs are quite strong at this area. Again, that it's looking at the maths, it's looking at both theoretical and how the theory underpins engineering technology, as well as then looking at emerging technologies and materials. The second program outcome relates to problem analysis. So that is the ability to identify, to formulate and analyze complex engineering problems. And I would emphasize there the complexity, and it's also about how you handle incomplete information, ill-defined problems, and that's really what we're looking for at the master's or the chartered engineer level. You would also be expecting the graduates to be able to apply the theoretical knowledge that they accumulated aligned to program outcome 1, how they're able to apply that to understanding a problem, particularly those complex or ill-defined problems. The third program outcome relates to design. So that is the ability to design innovative solutions to complex engineering problems. And again, you're seeing that whole area of complexity come through. So what we're looking for there is the design of processes and technologies, also the design of novel systems, components and processes, and as well the ability then to understand and apply different codes of practice and industry standards to those designs. Program outcome 4 is on investigation. So that is, a graduate should have the ability to investigate, experiment, and apply standard and specialized research methods. So again, at the master's level, you are expecting a high understanding of research and ability to apply new areas of research to engineering practice. So that can include everything from literature review through experimentation, through then looking also at areas maybe outside their branch of engineering and how they can apply those to practice. The 5th program outcome is on professional and ethical responsibilities. So that is an understanding and commitment to professional and ethical responsibilities towards people and the environment in the practice of engineering. So this is a program outcome that does get quite a lot of attention in our accreditation visits, because I think it is one of increasing importance in today's society. So in there we would look at, for example, environmental, social and economic impacts, and generally the area of sustainable development. The broader area then of the engineer's role in society and the need to act with honesty, integrity and objectivity. It also includes EDI, so that's equality, diversity and inclusion, and how that impacts on engineering practice. And then also areas such as health and safety and the ethical usage of technology and data. The 6th program outcome is on teamwork and lifelong learning. So this is the ability to work effectively, independently, and in diverse and inclusive teams, and to prepare for lifelong learning. So there are a few different subcomponents there. So that is firstly being able to work independently, but also within teams, and then to have an appreciation for and a preparation for CPD or for lifelong learning. The second last program outcome then is on communication. That is the ability to communicate effectively on complex engineering activities to diverse audiences. Again, a few components there that you'll have noticed in the keywords are that firstly, of course, that engineers do need very strong communication skills, but that it's about the ability to both communicate technical information, but also communicating to non-technical and diverse audiences. For example, that might include speaking about the benefits of a project to various types of stakeholders. It also might include writing technical papers and communicating both in the traditional media, but also the newer types of digital media. Finally then, this is actually a new program outcome which was introduced in our 2021 accreditation criteria, and that is engineering management. So that is knowledge and understanding of engineering management principles and financial decision making, and that are relevant to the graduate's branch of engineering, and an ability to apply these to one's own work and to the management of projects. So again, that is quite descriptive. It's quite a mouthful. And again, what we're trying there is to be quite clear about what we're looking for in this program outcome. It's not that we're looking for chartered accountants or that we're not looking for fully formed managers. What really we're looking for is an understanding of organizational structures, how resources are managed and how projects are managed, again, and how those apply to engineering. So just in summary, the 8 graduate attributes or program outcomes are knowledge and understanding, problem analysis, design, investigation, professional and ethical, how the graduate operates professionally and ethically, teamwork and lifelong learning, communication, and engineering management. We're conscious there is a lot there. There are certainly overlaps and there are certain modules that will contribute to several of these. But again, these are the program outcomes that we've determined to really produce that rounded engineering graduate that can go on to deliver sustainable engineering solutions for society. So thanks very much for your time and looking forward to the discussion.
Thanks, Richard, for summarising the many skills required of our engineers. At this point, I'd like to invite our second speaker, Catherine O'Sullivan, Engineer and Research Fellow in Munster Technological University, who will describe best practice engineering pedagogy from both a national and international perspective, and how the Rethinking Engineering Education in Ireland, or READY projects at Munster Technological University sets out to reform such practice. So, Catherine, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So I'd like to discuss the project we're working on here in MTU Kerry. So my slides should be just there now. Okay. So I'm talking today about our project, Rethinking Engineering Education in Ireland. So MTU submitted a project proposal to the Higher Education Authority titled Rethinking Engineering Education in Ireland, or abbreviated to READY. The project focuses on the delivery of education using state-of-the-art immersive technology, such as AR and VR, and significant work placement. Extensive engagement has taken place with industry regarding the development of a pilot program using this methodology. And a program title agreed with industry is the Bachelor of Engineering Honours in Mechanical and Manufacturing Engineering. It's envisaged further programs across STEM disciplines will be developed incorporating this approach within MTU. So why do we choose this degree? To put in the Irish context, and Engineers Ireland carried out a study in 2020. It was basically a barometer of the profession in Ireland, and they identified a skills shortage in manufacturing and mechanical engineering. This is causing a barrier to business growth, and it is known there is an annualized employment growth of 16.6% in engineering, and these jobs cannot be filled. There's insufficient graduate numbers with the right skills, and 84% of employers are now saying they're investing in upskilling their staff. So what are the key points of this READY programme? Well, it's based on world-class engineering education programmes and pedagogies. It consists of self-directed learning, e-modules, and a READY learning map. It has project-centred learning at its core, and it consists of performance appraisal, evaluation, and reviews. It's also got significant industry input and work-based placement. So it provides graduates in areas of identified skills needs for enterprise. It future-proofs graduates with industry-relevant skills for emerging technologies, and it promotes and embeds transversal skills among others. And it reforms and innovates higher education by building on best practice. So we talk a lot about industry. It's been co-designed, co-developed, and co-delivered with industry. Industry have been involved at all stages. We are proposing an industry mentorship program. We have significant work placement, which is 2 years. We have engineering symposia. We had an engineering symposium last week. We will have another one in 2023. We have guest lecturers from industry. They've already been out in semester 1, and they continue in each semester. In our steering committee, we have industry membership, and we have the program validated and continually improved with industry involved. And we have engineering fellows like myself and others who are the direct link between the students and industry when they're on work placement. So the proposed mentorship framework that we will develop, we understand we have to grow and nurture the student. So we have to put supporting resources and a project framework in place. For example, we're going to be matching mentors and mentees. The way we look at it is, you know, when the student goes out to industry in their first year, by the time they come into second year in industry, a new student has come in, so they can now become the mentor and the new student is the mentee. So we'll continue with this framework and supporting networks. So what do the subjects look like and the module streams in this degree? So the READY module streams, you will see the first one there is the transverse and soft skills. This module stream was developed after extensive consultation and workshops with industry. Industry were telling us that, you know, a lot of the graduates are lacking transverse and soft skills. So transverse skills like project management, time management, and presentation skills, and, you know, the soft skills like, you know, self-awareness and communication. So we devised our modules, you know, to incorporate those skills, to make sure the students would acquire those skills. So you can see in years 1, we have subjects Engineering Challenge 1 and Engineering Challenge 2. And this leads then into the second year with their professional development. So they will have to look at their interpersonal skills in the module, and they will also be doing things like CV preparation and interview skills. Because this will be critical, because by the end of second year, they will be placing themselves at interview position, looking for, you know, placements in the industry. And this will be a competitive process. So they will have to develop themselves professionally to do this. And the other streams are, you know, typical in other degrees, like, you know, they're consisting of the maths and data analytics module. They will be materials and design engineering, mechanical and process engineering, manufacturing and quality engineering, and electrical and automation engineering. A key differentiation then you will see in years 3 and 4 is that we have the work placement modules. So the work placement takes place 4 days per week. The student is in industry 4 days per week, and they have research skills and projects as part of that. And in year 4, they have the capstone project. And on 1 day per week, they will do 2 modules. One will be an elective. It could be maths methods, or it could be, for example, applied thermofluids, depending on the industry they're in. They will choose the elective module of their choice, and they will have compulsory modules like production systems and problem solving. Each year is worth 60 credits, and over the 4 years, it's 240 credits, accredited at QQI level 8 standard. So the teaching strategies for year 1 and year 2. So this is a blended degree. So year 1, the early stages start off very much like, the traditional engineering degree, face-to-face classroom content. There is also an adaptive LXP, a learning experience platform, where there is asynchronous online content. So the students can look at content before they come into the lecture, for additional reading or to understand a topic in advance. So it makes the lecture more relevant to them. And then they have the lecturer and student face-to-face time, lecture facilitate group discussions, tutorials, labs, practical work. And then again, they have self-directed learning if they need, maybe after the lecture, if they need to spend more time on a particular topic. So there's directed learning and there's continuous assessment of feedback on this learning experience platform. And there is also a final exam, but we tend to steer away from that as much as possible. And we like more the idea of continuous assessment. The strategies year 3 and 4 is quite different in that you will see the work placement 1, 2, 3, and 4. We term them 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the purpose of semesterization and for assessing them. But it's actually one industry placement. They spend the 2 years in one industry. Okay, and each semester, has defined learning outcomes. And these learning outcomes are assessed by way of reflective journal, 360 performance appraisals, and e-portfolios. And each work placement semester represents a total of 15 credits. So that's 4 by 15 credits, which is 60 credits. Then on the other day of the week, they have taught modules in years 3 and 4, and it's delivered by way of online learning. And it's a mixture of synchronous and asynchronous delivery. And these modules can be taken 1 day per week, or maybe 2 half days per week, depending on the agreement within the industry. So the learning experience platform, it's essentially a dynamic learning map, with nodes on it, and they can pick the topic they want at a particular time. And we have a license from a company called Realize It. And the students can learn just in time, not just in case. And you can see up here on the right hand side, we can embed video content for them, or down here on the right hand corner. Also, they can go in maybe and do some of their maths modules. They can take questions, multiple choice questions, and they can go back maybe and redo it again if they didn't do so well the first time. And this is all just to enhance their learning. Immersive technologies, this is a big part of the program. And every student that comes on the course gets an Oculus headset, and they do some of their laboratories, using these VR technologies. And you can see here students in the VR suite, learning through this. This is our first cohort of students that start in September, and they're really embracing this VR technology. So who are the partners here, the academic and research partners? Well, ourselves, MTU, we are the lead here, and we're part of the University of Limerick. And also with Charles Sturt University in Australia. They are renowned for this, internationally, and they've been doing this for some time now. And also Harper Adams University in the UK. And the research centres involved are the IMAR Research Centre and the ACE Agritech Centre of Excellence here in the Tralee campus, and Confirm and Lero in Limerick. The industry partners, currently we have 23 industry partners who have signed the code of practice, and there are additional partners to be signed up. So you can see we have a variety of partners. If we look at Dairy Master from the agri-tech sector, and we've Astellas, who are pharmaceutical, we have Stryker, who are medtech. We also have some electronic companies like Avonmore and Electrical, and we have Sanmina. So we have a wide variety of industry partners. The sectors and the benefits of them, well, as you can see, the wide sector we have, they cover from, industrial manufacturing engineering through advanced engineering, heavy engineering, automotive engineering, agri-tech, medtech, climate tech. We're looking at food tech. We have pharmaceutical, electronic manufacturing, and automation. And the benefits of this is, that we are building a strong foundation, of partnership with world-class research centres in industry-based placement and our learning map. And we have the strong pillars then of e-learning, project-based, work-based learning, performance planning and reviews. And this leads to industry-ready graduate engineers. As part of this, we're also, looking at outreach activities with primary and secondary schools. So some of us on the team, are members of Engineers Ireland. I'm a volunteer with the STEPS Engineers Ireland Award, recently visiting 3rd and 4th class schools looking at their engineering projects. We've presented at the I Wish Kerry Science Festival, and we're also been part of SciFest this year. Here on the right-hand corner, you see a picture of, secondary school students, and what they're doing there is a workshop on lean engineering. So we're introducing them very early on to the concepts of lean engineering and understanding quality, and the importance of quality in a manufacturing environment. So we believe, the earlier we can introduce students and primary school children, to engineering concepts, that it becomes ingrained in their mindset, and they will start considering it, as a career going forward, as an area and a field of study. As you will also see from the previous presentation, sustainable development is very important, and sustainability is now an area, within engineering. And we are aligning the sustainable development goals within this programme. We actually published a paper earlier this year about the implementation of these goals within the framework for rethinking engineering education in Ireland, and that was published in July 2022 at the EduLearn conference in Spain. Other publications we have 2 book chapters published. One is in the learning with technologies and technologies in learning, and we're in the final stages of editing in the engineering education research chapter. We have a journal publication, and we have now a total of 7 conference publications. So what's this all about? Really what we want is to have a student who will have the ready ways of thinking, and the ready ways of thinking are all about discovering and making, creative thinking, computational thinking, analytical thinking. If you see over here on the right-hand side, we call out experimental thinking, person skills and attributes, critical and metacognitive thinking. And we really feel they get that critical and metacognitive thinking in their 2 years industry placement through reflective practice, through the journals that they will keep. Humanistic thinking, we believe, is very important, for an engineer. If they can think humanistically, then they have empathy, and they can design, the solutions to empathize with the world around them. The skills and attributes of the ready graduate is that they're a well-rounded engineer. They possess technical skills, soft skills, and transfer skills. And this leads to an engineer who's a problem solver, a team player, they're ethical, they can communicate, and they have the fundamental STEM skills. And to conclude, the ready graduates will have the necessary skills to work across many industry sectors, and they will fulfill the engineering talent pipeline needs. So here we've prepared, an overview slide of the job titles that we will prepare our students for. And we will also give them the key skills that they will need for those job titles. And they will get these key skills in the modules that we have designed for the 4 years of the course. So I hope this gives you a flavour, of what the Rethinking Engineering Education Ireland project is all about. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. That was very impressive. It's great to see the links between your programme and industry and how you've aligned that programme with sustainable development goals. I would now like to invite Barry Convey, National Chairperson of the Engineering Technologies Teachers Association, who will describe how engineering technology and DCG is currently delivered at post-primary level.
Thanks very much, Ronan. So I'm going to discuss the suite of technology subjects of both junior cycle and senior cycle and post-primary. The historical syllabi of subjects are now referred to as specifications. So if we have a look at junior cycle has moved now to common level in the technology subjects, with terminal examination of 30% and a practical element throughout the subjects worth 70%. It also we've seen the introduction of 2 classroom-based assessments, or better known as CBAs, and they happen in year 2 and year 3 respectively. Senior cycle, we have subjects engineering, technology, and DCG. design and communication graphics. These subjects are examined on a practical examination level and a theory examination, and they're assessed at different weightings with regard to higher level and ordinary level. So if we look at, I'm going to start with junior cycle graphics and leaving cert DCG, design and communication graphics. So talking about graphics, if you look at there are 3 strands in graphics. You've applied graphics, 2D graphics and 3D graphics. And all of these 3 strands are linked through the learning outcomes for each strand and are grouped by reference to 4 elements: geometric principles and constructions, spatial reasoning, design thinking, communicating. So you'll see that that's a common theme through all of the junior cycle projects. So developing a basic skill set in applied graphics, 2D graphics and 3D graphics, that moves us on then to senior cycle leaving cert DCG, so design and communication graphics. You have 2 core principles of the course. The first one there, you have plane and descriptive geometry, with applied graphics as an option, and then you have design communication of design and computer graphics, again with applied graphics as an option. When you look at the next subject there, applied technology, which progresses to leaving cert technology at senior cycle. Again, you can see the key components of the junior cycle applied technology and leaving cert courses. You can see the commonality in the layout of the junior cycle presentation. The leaving cert core principles again are laid out. So you have 3 strands in similar to in graphics. You have principles and practices. You have energy and control, and you have technology and society. And the strands are linked through the learner outcomes, which are analysis and problem solving, design and innovation, planning, managing and creating, and then again you have communicating. At leaving cert technology, you have a core and a project. You have electronics and control, manufacturing systems, materials technology, information and communications technology, and applied control systems. And throughout the project, the learnings are represented through the presentation of a process of design, project and quality management, materials and production, communication and graphics media, information and communications technology, structures and mechanisms, energy, electricity, and electronics. So the core elements to the syllabus is focus on technology and society, environment, and health and safety in the work area, which is incorporated into the student project. There are 5 option areas that provide an opportunity for students to undertake a more in-depth study of particular aspects of technology. So moving on then to senior cycle engineering and leaving cert engineering. So the 3 strands in engineering, in junior cycle engineering, are process and principles, design application, and mechatronics. They're all linked through the learning outcomes for each strand and are grouped by reference to 4 elements. So you have engineering, knowledge and awareness, development and manufacturing, innovation and exploration, and again, communicating. The introduction of junior cycle engineering and the name has helped the subject significantly, and has highlighted or allows a visible path for students who want to pursue a career in engineering when they finish their studies, that junior cycle engineering continues to senior cycle engineering, and then gives access to engineering at 3rd level. So in leaving cert engineering, you have health and safety, metrology, manufacturing processes, machining, and polymer technology. Just on this slide, you'll see the top left there is a video developed by the State Examinations Commission, and this is to support students along with the drawing that's presented to the students in third year. This project is a culmination of all of the studies in their 3-year cycle at Junior Cycle Engineering, and it's presented in taking into consideration their ability to use appropriate materials, use appropriate electronics, combine electronics with mechanisms under I suppose the term mechatronics, and provide solutions for the purpose of examination. A senior cycle, the subject is broken up into the practical day exam, which is a 6-hour exam. That's a bench fitting exercise where the students are assessed on their ability to follow a drawn, and again an emphasis on precision and accuracy, and finish there. And then I suppose your senior cycle project, which is accompanied with a portfolio. This racing carrier was the theme for last year's design brief, and I just want to include that there to highlight the standard of work and the hours that goes into the development of them projects for senior cycle engineering. So the emphasising on engineering and junior cycle engineering's new subjects allowed for considerable reform with regard to technologies that can be used to produce a solution to the examination. Additive manufacturing and laser cutting are now common processes available to students in the post-primary systems. The video of this year's practical examination highlights the process skills required at junior cycle. It also highlights the requirement for skills development for CAD or CAD-CAM and communication of design. Further development of these skills at senior cycle prepares students for further education. So here we have data shared with us at the ETTA from the State Exams Commission, and we're very appreciative of access to this data. But I suppose when you break down the data and present it, in this graph here you have junior cycle subjects, and in this graph here you have leaving cert subjects. So in green you have technical graphics, blue you have technology, and yellow then you have engineering, and it includes metalwork because that was the previous name of the subject until it changed for the new junior cycle. If you take, for instance, the technical graphics, you have 11,931 students studying junior cycle graphics. There's a significant drop off then to 5,393 studying DCG at senior cycle. If you compare the reason we've taken 2016 there and compared it to 2018, that's to show us it was the students progressing from when they sit their junior cert to sitting their leaving cert. If you look at 2019, you have 7,997 students sitting the junior cert metalwork in 2019, and that number then you have again a drop off, not as great as in graphics and DCG, but you still have a drop off between 2019 and 2022 when you compare the data from your junior cert, the number of students who sat at junior cert and the number of students sat at leaving cert. So I suppose uptake of junior cycle to senior cycle, well, that has to be, I suppose, discussed and an explanation established as to why there's an increased uptake of junior cycle, and what can be done to progress those students to take the technology subject at senior cycle. The new junior cycle specifications numbers increase. That can be mainly attributed to I suppose the change in the names of the subjects and aligning the names of the subjects with the senior cycle subjects, and again with courses that are available in third level. Closer ties to further education and industry and redevelopment. We're currently reviewing the senior cycle engineering, senior cycle technology, and senior cycle DCG through I suppose the NCCA publishing their draft review document, and the EGTA are gathering the thoughts and the views and the requirements from post-primary teachers and industry and further education to contribute to develop draft specifications to submit to the NCCA. Modern advances have been addressed and realised and need to continue to be addressed and realised into the future. Examples of that would be your laser cutting technology, your additive manufacturing technologies. They are now included in junior cycle assessments and senior cycle assessments, and that has encouraged the Department of Education to give access or to increase funding to upgrade the technology rooms, engineering rooms, and graphics rooms nationwide. The skill set introduced and developed in post-primary needs to be advertised by further education and attract students into the courses. And then I suppose all of what can be presented here will be discussed in the Q&A sessions afterwards. Back to you, Ronan.
Thank you, Barry. That was a great overview and a reminder of the skill level required at second level. Your data on the participation rates from junior to leaving cert was particularly interesting, and you're showing them there again. And we will talk on that later. I suspect there'll be a few questions on that. Thanks a million. I would now like to invite Kevin Gaughan, Head of Discipline of Engineering Science at TU Dublin, who was joint chair of a group which created a first-year framework for success there, and he will share some of the lessons learned in the development of that framework. Over to you, Kevin.
Hello all, good afternoon all. I'll just go into presentation mode there. Right, so I am the last speaker, but as I say, colleague Michelle Luby will be talking after me about transition year programs. I'm head of discipline of engineering science, but we're responsible for the largest group of first year students in TU Dublin, between 200 and 250 every year, common entry students. So that's given us, I suppose, a fairly good understanding of the challenges that engineers face. And I'd like to share some of the lessons that we've learned from that, and some of the things that we've developed. In my talk here, we'll talk about how transition to university is hard for all the students, but there are some particular challenges, additional challenges for engineers. So I'd like to share with you a framework that we developed a number of years ago, but it has developed since then, a framework for success for helping first year students to overcome that challenging transition to university. I will add my own sort of personal experiences to that. And hopefully that will be prompts for discussion then, we can sort of talk, because I'm sure each of us who's dealing with students either at second level or at third level are aware of some of the challenges here, and of what we've encountered and how we've overcome them. First year is hard for every student. Universities tend to be big, scary places, particularly compared to secondary school. New people, new place, new subjects. So all of that is overwhelming to start with. But then it's a completely new way of learning. There's much more emphasis on self-directed learning. There is not a teacher giving you homework every night and perhaps writing home to your parents if you don't engage. There's a lot going on outside the academics as well. Young people at 18, 19 are becoming, they're developing in their adult selves. They're discovering much about their personal identity. Some of that is discovering, do I really want to be an engineer? But it's also, discoveries about sexuality, about gender, about, their view of the world. All of that stuff is going on. And we are, really dealing only with a very small part of the person here. And we're trying to help them as they transition into engineers of the future. The increased responsibility is a huge thing. We find for many students, the difference between the 18-year-old who comes to us and, the 21, 22-year-old who graduates, they've become adults in control of their own learning with their own, but at 18, when they come into first year, that penny hasn't dropped. For some students, they're very self-independent learners already, but for many, they're not. We shouldn't forget the very real financial pressures that many of our students face. Certainly in Dublin, Dublin's a very expensive place to live, and many of our students, the majority of our students, would have part-time jobs. And it's not just for entertainment money. For many students, this is a financial necessity. And you know, we have students who say, I can't attend labs on Wednesday because I have to work. And I said, well, surely college is more important, but equally, they have to live, first of all, before they can attend college. And there are so many other things going on outside of college: relationships, family, health issues, all of that impinging on a student's ability to engage with their studies. And we cannot forget that although we're all thankfully out of COVID lockdowns, COVID had a lasting impact on many students' educational experiences. We certainly have noticed that in recent exam boards, that even though for the last year we were pretty much back in-house in most of our activities, we've noticed higher dropout rates. We've noticed that some students has done very well through the COVID years, have managed to re-engage, but some students did not and are still experiencing what I might call a COVID hangover. Now, that's for every student, but what about engineering students? We've got to remember that engineering is a very full-on program. Typically 25 plus contact hours and loads of assignments and projects, all of the things that we're very proud of in engineering, that increases just the sheer volume of stuff that students have to engage with. There's also a perception out there that engineering is hard, and that can be scary, particularly if you're a first year in a college and think, oh, I'm not keeping up, I'm not managing to keep up with everyone else. And it's the number of students I've talked to who think that they're falling behind the rest of the class. Well, if everybody's falling behind, you wonder who that one person is that's up front. But a key issue that I think is important to talk about is there is a lack of understanding among wider society about what engineers actually do. If you go to Google and you Google engineer, you know, the first images that come up will probably be someone in a hard hat, probably on a site, certainly wearing, you know, high-vis gear. And whereas many engineers do work on sites in PPE, the profession is much more diverse than that. There's much more going on in the modern engineering profession, but that, you know, that fuller understanding is not out there in society. And so therefore, you know, students don't quite know what they've signed up for when they come into engineering. Now, I think I'm really delighted that we got such an introduction from Barry to what's going on, the tremendous work that's going on at second level, because really I think this alignment of second level and third level is going to be a key going forward, because we do find a mismatch sometimes with secondary school subjects. Because we think of engineering, it's the practical application of science. But if a student comes in with a very academic background, they've done all the science subjects, but they may not quite be ready for the practical side. On the other hand, we also get students who come in who, you know, I love the practical bits, the workshop, I loved, you know, doing stuff in SolidWorks, but don't really want to study physics. I don't really want to study maths. The trouble is you need both. You know, both theory and practice to be a good engineer. I'm just in awe of the work that's going on there in the engineering subjects, what Barry has shown us. There's tremendous stuff going on. That is tremendous preparation for engineering, but also we have to realize that we can give the wrong impression. If students think that it is only, you know, the practice is engineering, no, you need a combination of both. And we need to, you know, we need to engage and we need to make sure that students understand what they're signing up for in engineering. Now, I'm going to just for a couple of minutes talk to you about a framework for success that we developed. Started back in 2016, so it's been around for a few years, but it has developed since then. Just a heads up to Christine O'Connor and myself co-chaired it, but really a lot of the donkey work was done by Jen Harvey and Claire McDonald in the Learning and Teaching Centre. But a key point is that we try to draw lessons from across the institution and from outside, from, you know, best practice, from published works, from student groups, from everybody working with first years to say, well, what is the best way to engage with and help first years through this difficult transition into college? Some of the objectives, as I say, was to consult widely and to find, you know, as much information as we can, and also to identify examples of best practice. We had a total of 20 at one stage, exemplar first year projects, everything from new ways of working to extended induction programs, really, you know, to try and distill all that knowledge. And of course, one size doesn't suit all. Not every course and not every student needs exactly the same approach, but just to understand what are ways that work and help students overcome this difficult first transition into college. Now, I'll just highlight one aspect there. As sort of an academic member of the team, I was very keen that we didn't create extra work for busy first-year tutors, because you know, the trouble is if you start just saying, oh, this is great new initiative and it's going to double the amount of work you do, the trouble is it will fail, because we need to provide tools which help and facilitate people. And that was a key aspect, that we wanted to simplify and make it easy to follow best practice. So just, you know, an indication, I mean, this I suppose stemmed out of a report from 2015, but in 2016 was really the consultation. Our first version of the framework was published in 2016, and it has been built on since. In 2019, it was actually included in our annual program review process. Now, for those outside of TU Dublin, what you may not realize is that, so therefore every program has to engage with this in some way, because this is, you know, it's like a requirement of the annual review process. Most recently, we're currently developing new academic models as part of our transition into the technological university, and the most recent reevaluation of the framework happened earlier in spring of this year. So really that is to going forward from strength to strength as a part of that. But I'll just show you one of the sort of key outputs of this. Now, I'm not expecting you to read the small text here, but this is a checklist that we provide to program tutors really working with first years. It's really, it's not, you know, a score sheet that you're judged against, but it allows you to judge your approach and to give hints as to examples of best practice, and really just to help people to develop and improve their engagement with first year students. I will highlight some of the top level topics. I won't necessarily go into all the detail. When I started in about 20 years ago, when I started in third level, what we used to call induction was a one-day event where you brought in your first years. You know, the dean gave them a pep talk, you threw timetables at them, you know, you might have had some ice-breaking session. And it was a really very concentrated, half it probably went into the students one ear and out the next. And then you brought them in the following Monday morning and they were suddenly students. Thankfully, we've kind of all moved on, and we realized that it's not a one day, it's not even a 1 week. It is really a longer term orientation and induction and into what it means to be a third level student. So, you know, the notion of the year-long induction or the extended orientation, and we use the language now. We have the early orientation, and we kind of, this is, you know, you still need to bring them in and give them timetables, but equally to realize that that whole process is going to take a much longer time, and to integrate them into the university environment. Peer mentoring is so valuable and so useful, and we're lucky to have some really engaged and enthusiastic second and third year students who are delighted to work with the first years, share some of their experience and share some of their knowledge. What I will say is that it is actually difficult to coordinate. Our pastoral care service here take an overarching role in it, but one of the challenges, remember, engineering timetables are very full. So finding places in the timetable where first years and second years can, you know, take time out. And what we actually do is we sometimes have to dedicate classes to these events, but they're always valuable and they're always useful. I think we all know that assessment and feedback is key. It's really important for the students themselves to know how they're getting on. The number of students who feel that they're falling behind when actually they're probably just very much keeping up with the rest of the class. It's also key for us as tutors to early identification is key. The early, you know, if you catch, you know, students who are struggling within the first few weeks, you can almost always do something about it. If you don't catch them until, you know, January or worse, May, then it's too late. Richard really gave us a very good outline of the graduate attributes for engineers. And remember, I pointed out that really an awful lot of students come in here without an idea of what engineers do. And that is actually really important to them, because, you know, in this big scary place, what they've signed up for, to know what real life engineers do, what they will be expected to do, is so key to help them engage and to become, you know, it is not just their first year in college. It's their first steps on their professional career, and that is something like, I mean, we with our first year groups, we bring in industry speakers, we kind of engage them in design projects, we try to do everything to try and get them feeling like engineers and to understand what engineers do, and it really helps them to know why they are here and what they are doing. Interestingly enough, when we developed this in 2016, we were very aware of learning spaces and new modes of learning, and there was some tremendous examples of best practice. But it's curious that what went in 2016 from nice to have suddenly became necessities in 2020 when we were locked down through COVID. Now, thankfully, we're largely back in house, and I think most of our staff and students are very, very thankful for that. But there are so many lessons of new ways of learning, and Catherine's explanation of actually teaching students in virtual space using Oculus Rift technology is really an impressive example of how we can embrace and many of the lessons that we've learned over the few years to do things better and to engage with students and help them to engage with learning in new ways. I do want to share now just some personal observations, so in addition to that project. So I think it is important that we recognize that first year is special. If you get first year right, not only does it help progression rates for the students into the following years, but also the benefits in terms of engaged students and students who feel committed and who want to be engineers is terrific. We really do need to reach further back with second level. We need to strengthen those links with teachers and with students through outreach events. I mean, like, working with students involved in science and technology is a tremendous way of ensuring that the students not only see the value of engineering, but also are prepared for what, they understand that yes, engineering there's the science and there's the practice, and it's coming together as a really valuable, engaging career, and I want to be that. Outreach events, I believe Michelle is going to talk to us about transition year programs. All of that is key. We find that students who've engaged in those events have a much better idea when they come into college, and therefore it's much easier for them to make that transition of what an engineer is and what engineering students do. Do remember that we have so many students who face so many challenges, many of which are not academic. So one size does not fit all. You will need a variety of supports. Thankfully, all of our institutions have tremendous support networks available, professional counselors, both in the academic sense and also in the non-academic sense. But for students, they don't really know how to navigate through these. So we need to help them and provide easy routes for them to get the support that they require. I will say, however, it is important, and if you are working with students in difficulties, you cannot win them all, sadly, and because time is limited, and you will find that some students perhaps they're in the wrong places. Perhaps a student, but in that case, you can maybe help the student find a transition to a more appropriate route. We're very lucky in TU Dublin to have a very, very wide range of engineering programs and of courses. And if a student comes to me and maybe they're really struggling at level 8 engineering, we can possibly find a route for them to engineering at a different level or different. So that is a tremendous toolkit to have. But one thing I always do when a student comes to me experiencing difficulties or unsure of why they're here, there's two key questions. So do they know what engineers do? Do they actually know what the course is that they've signed up for? And possibly even more key, once they know what an engineer is, do they want to be an engineer? Because what I found over the years, if that a student really wants to be an engineer, we can find a way to deal with that. We can, if there are maybe issues, there are maybe things that are affecting their studies or outside, then we can deal with those. But if a student has come to the realization that now that I know what engineering is, it's not quite what I wanted, well, then, what you can do is help that student transition to something that is more appropriate to them. And I'm much happier to see a student find a path which aligns better with what they want to do than to try and force or shoehorn them into engineering. So that is really the end of my short talk. I suppose the key things that first year is challenging, but I think engineering students have this particular additional issues. Also, many of them don't fully understand what an engineering is, when they come into college. I think it is enormously valuable to invest time and resources into first year. Certainly, the level of the academic level of the material may be low, but the educational needs of the students are probably the highest of all your group of students, and it will pay both for the student and for the profession to really invest the time and resources into first years. And I've shown you this first year checklist of success that was developed, and which is continuing to be developed and used as examples of best practice for our first year coordinators and tutors. So thank you very much. Obviously, I'd be delighted to answer any questions during the Q&A session later.
Thank you, Kevin. That was an excellent summary of the many challenges faced by our first years and how they may not fully understand what's ahead of them at third level, having completed the Leaving Cert. At this point, I will invite all of our panelists for a Q&A, and we'll remind our attendees that if you'd like to post a question, you can submit that through the Q&A facility at the bottom of your screen there. Okay, so Michelle Luby is here amongst us. She hasn't delivered a presentation, but she does have experience on the STEPS program. So Michelle, if you don't mind, I'll ask you first.
Thanks very much, Ronan. And I'd first like to thank you for having me here, and I'd like to congratulate on all the speakers on really interesting and insightful presentation. So expanding on what Kevin has already said, I'm going to talk a bit about the Engineering Your Future programme, which is part of a wider set of Engineers Ireland STEPS programmes, and it's aimed at transition year students to inspire them to study engineering and choose engineering as a career. And as Kevin said, to understand what an engineer actually is and what an engineer does. So the programme is hosted by both third level institutions and industry partners annually, and it has a programme of activities that would typically run over 3 to 5 days. So students actually come onto the campus or into an organisation for the 3 to 5 days. And this year there are 19 different programmes running during March, April, May of 2023, with 12 of them being hosted by third level institutes and 7 by industry partners. So it's great to see that partnership going. And the third level institutes, when they're hosting the programme, they'll also include an industry visit during the 3 to 5 days. The schedule, if anyone's interested in seeing the schedule of programmes, they're available on the Engineers Ireland website. And during the programme and before, Engineers Ireland provide support and guidance to the hosting partners. For example, they'd provide guidelines on the type of activities that run, but generally a common to all activities is that they're hands-on, fun and practical activities that would allow students to get a real flavour or insight into what engineering is about and what, for example, studying engineering at third level might be about. So the type of activities that students would typically do would be interactive talks and presentation, hands-on work in engineering labs and workshops, experience doing engineering design challenges. An important part is exposure to role models, such as meeting with final year students. So we've had, during our own programme in TU Dublin, we've connected our Engineering Your Future participants with our final year students who talk to them and demo their projects. So that's a really, really good link to have. Also, they experience role models through maybe guest speakers and generally with discussions with engineers. And of course, it's important that the students get an insight into what else is on offer, perhaps at third level, such as clubs and societies and sports facilities. So you might have a campus tour in order to get this visibility. And as I've said, a requirement of each programme is that it includes an industry visit or a site visit. So students get to meet engineers both in academia and also in industry, which gives them further insights into what a career as an engineer entails and just general exposure into an industry working environment. So if they're being hosted by a third level institute, the site visit would typically be for a half day, and it would provide students with access to live projects and site tours and site visits. So the Engineering Your Future programme, it isn't aimed at any one type of engineering, and third level institutes who are hosting it would typically offer activities to give exposure across a broad range of engineering disciplines as might be offered within a particular college. And if you look at the schedule of events, you'll see from the wide range of industry partners and third level institutes involved, this sort of broad range of exposure to different engineering disciplines. In the TU Dublin programme last year, for example, the students got hands-on experience in a wide range of design challenges, such as building model bridges, robotics, electronics, mechanics, automation, control systems, and others. And they worked in teams to problem solve and come up with creative students. And of course, they have to have lots of fun along the way. All of this links very well with the attributes which were already discussed earlier by the speakers, giving students opportunities to develop their problem solving and technical skills within that team environment. So they're getting to hone their communication skills as well. And the programme would typically end with a closing ceremony, which could include prizes for the challenges that had been done during the week. And Engineers Ireland provide a certificate of completion for each participant. So it's a really, really good programme, and it's great to see the extent that the programme has developed over the years with such a wide range of partners, both in academia and industry. So if anyone has any further questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I'm just kind of giving an overview of the programme.
Yeah, I do. Michelle, how might a student apply to go to one of these programs? And
yeah, with
how could we get involved?
Yeah, how you can get involved. Well, first of all, if students want to apply to go on a programme, they can do it through the Engineers Ireland STEPS programme. So there's a section of the Engineers Ireland website dedicated to the STEPS programme and the Engineering Your Future programme. And anyone who wants to become a partner in the Engineering Future programme or the STEPS programme, or who wants to find out more information on this, can contact the STEPS team, and the information is contained within the website. So each Engineer Your Future partner will provide a lead coordinator who will coordinate all the activities that would take place, be it on campus or in an industry, and there'd be a team of people then who would coordinate all the activities. But Engineers Ireland would liaise with the schools and the parents, that side of it, in order to get the participants on the programme in the first place. But all the information there for anyone who would like to become a partner in the programme and in the wider STEPS programme, all the information is contained there within the Engineers Ireland website.
Brilliant, brilliant. Bit of a gear change, moving away from that aspect. A question for Catherine, if you could answer: is there a possible danger that with immersive technology that might hinder the development of hands-on skills? What would your views on that be?
No, we don't believe so. If anything, we believe it complements and enhances, the practical skills, because the students still have the practical side, the traditional practical side of the course, but the virtual reality, and the immersive technologies, they are strengthening, I suppose, those hands-on approaches. And if you think about, factories of the future and Industry 4 and everything that's going on with digitization in the factories, this is the way industry is going. And, by the time students come out to industry, because they'll be proficient at using this technology, they'll be very useful in the workplace. For example, a lot of the workplace now are looking at digital twinning, where they take a virtual representation of a physical object. And for example, like a valve, or the maintenance of a valve or a piece of equipment. And our students will be well equipped, to delve straight into those type of projects. And at the moment, they're developing, the Rube Goldberg machine, which is the chain reaction sequence of events. And they're doing this virtually, so that by the time, they start using equipment in the laboratory, they're familiar, with how, the equipment comes together and how it works and how they measure, and, the principles of force, speed, distance, on all of that. So, we believe it complements it.
Yeah, very interesting, and clearly at the cutting edge down there at your in MTU. I don't know if any of our panelists have a follow-on question for Catherine. If not, I'll move on. You're muted, Kevin.
Yeah, sorry, I just, because I'm intrigued with the same the immersive technologies. I did get to play around with an Oculus Rift a few years ago, and I got very motion sick from the experience. Yeah. And is it like, are there challenges there in that, not specifically to your own use of it, but are there challenges as people move into virtual space that some people get left behind?
No, not students themselves, because it's, you know, it's a dedicated session that they have, you know, during the week, and we actually have, you know, a VR suite on campus. So that's one of our academic partners I mentioned earlier, the Agritech Centre of Excellence. We have, you know, the technology with a lot of haptic devices in there, you know, and it's an immersive room. So they're in that space. And, you know, they can obviously, again, if I go back, you know, work at their own pace. And, you know, they work independently and they work in group projects within this space. And they have dedicated tutors and lecturers that work with them in there, you know. So it's, again, you know, it's a step-by-step approach. You introduce them to this technology gradually, so that by the time, you know, they're finished on campus after 2 years, you know, they're well able to use it then, you know, when they go into industry. And, you know, I mean, the good thing about, you know, this type of technology is you can fail safely. You know, if you are afraid you're going to fall off a cliff, you know, and you take that step, you know, you don't. So at least you can fail safely and you can try again. And they can practice at home, they can practice in their own space. So we believe, even from that point of view, going forward in industry, for health and safety requirements, everything that, we think, you know, virtual reality, you know, is a cutting edge technology, and it's going to be, you know, leading the way.
Yeah. Just something I noticed myself, the engineering challenge modules earlier in your program. What are those challenges? What do you pitch to the students?
Yeah, so obviously early on, they're well-defined engineering challenges, you know, that they have to work on, and it's a lot about group work, you know, and that they work in groups. It's getting back again, you know, to those skills that they need, you know, the soft skills and the transfer skills. And it's us, you know, giving them, you know, well-defined engineering problems. As I said, the Rube Goldberg machine, that they would design a machine, you know, that would, you know, that they would actually take ownership of, and they would work in their groups, and they would pitch it and present it then, you know, to the rest of the class. And they would tweak it as they go. And they'd also have challenges, obviously, you know, that they'd work on within the laboratory. You know, they'd be doing tensile testing and things like that. But they would be well-defined challenges. As they move into second year, the challenges become more complex.
Yeah. Thanks, Catherine. Perhaps a question for Barry, if I may. Barry, I think I noticed on your data, there's a noticeable drop in participation rates between junior and leaving cert. Have you any thoughts on that, or what might be happening?
Yeah, I suppose it's an area that we have to include in our research that we're doing for the current senior cycle review, and what we'd see presented in senior cycle specifications. I suppose it's a concern that I think it was in the region of 13,000 graphics students, and you've just above 7,000 sitting at leaving cert in DCG. That's the main one that you have a concern over. And like, I suppose subject difficulty, or perceived subject difficulty, is probably one of the main challenges for students not taking maybe engineering technology or DCG in the first place. But then that data is showing that we're getting the numbers in, and the problem is retaining them. And that lends itself then to have the conversation around the time that's consumed in developing and completing the project work for examination. Most teachers in the country will tell you the students in the subjects of engineering, technology and DCG, they don't want to leave the classrooms. They're looking at any time they have a free class, they're looking at coming down to the rooms to continue to work outside of class time on their projects. And I suppose that's a credit to the teachers for inspiring them and creating that opportunity for them to be enthusiastic about the subject. But then when they sit down, I suppose, with career guidance teachers and they're planning their futures, if you had a student who happened to pick the 3 subjects, technology, engineering and DCG, the other subjects could potentially take a hit from regard to achieving, you know, H1 or H2, even though they would be achieving them high grades in our subjects. So there are two issues, I suppose, that come to the forefront immediately. Timetabling in the schools. This year, for example, and I think I'll attribute this to the name change at Junior Cycle Engineering. we have 5 first-year engineering classes in the school I'm teaching in, Summer College in Sligo, with 3 fifth-year engineering classes. So that those numbers have exploded in the last 2 or 3 years. But lucky enough, we have the support of the principal in timetabling and managing the 3 engineering teachers to cater for engineering as subject alone. And that's not mentioned in the resources that are made available for DCG. So in schools where they don't have the resourcing, the timetable might only permit one Leaving Cert engineering class, or maybe one Leaving Cert design and communications graphics class, and that then means that the students don't actually get access to the classes. Funding from the department is an issue. Any of the new builds that are happening, the department are quick to drop in funding for a technology room, even though there might have already have been an engineering room fully established in the schools. And the reason for that is it's considerably cheaper to kit out a technology room than it is an engineering room. But the consequences of that would be that you don't have as many students getting access to study engineering, which in my opinion is a subject that gives a brilliant foundation in the fundamental skills required for studying engineering at 3rd level. The other area then I think that is causing the concern is STEM. And when you look at science, technology, engineering and maths, the 2 middle letters are often left out. And when schools in their strategic plans and school improvement plans, once they cater for their science and their maths, it's nearly done. More collaboration needs to happen to highlight the links between technology, engineering, and science and physics, I suppose, in particular. I'd like to see an advertising campaign where students who study honours physics, honours maths, maybe honours DCG and honours engineering, they're very much suited to the courses that, you know, Kevin mentioned earlier, or any third level education provider. That's nearly an advertisement campaign that needs to be put together and happen from a collated approach that all stakeholders put together, and then from primary, post-primary, and then 3rd level, everybody is nearly sharing a similar presentation where the same information is getting across, that if this is the skill set and this is your interests, study junior cycle engineering, junior cycle graphics, junior cycle applied technology, which follow on into their senior cycle subjects, and then will make 1st year easier for you in 3rd level. And it's coming together to reduce the amount of barriers and difficulties that are being faced by 1st year technology students in 3rd level.
Yes, Barry, I understand our chair of the Academic Society, Kevin Delaney, might have a question for you. Kevin, if you're available to pose that question.
Thanks very much for that talk, Barry. One of the questions that I had was, I suppose, one of the patterns that we're seeing is that sometimes, and I think Kevin made comment to this, that, you know, a lot of times students are coming in and some of them don't really know what engineering is about, or maybe they don't know what the different disciplines in engineering are about. And I don't know if we have any data which actually says whether it's students that might have studied engineering at 2nd level. And I mean, I did, so I do remember it was very, very clear to me. But what could we as 3rd level educators do to try and make that clearer?
I suppose in the thanks for your question, first of all, Kevin. In the development of the junior cycle engineering specification, we put pressure on the department to include a list of careers in engineering as part of that specification, and there was over 30 different engineering disciplines identified and included in that, and that was an attempt to make parents and teachers aware of the potential careers that could be pursued after studying junior cycle engineering and senior cycle engineering. So I suppose, and Kevin mentioned it there earlier, and you know that, and I think Catherine as well. Most people have this concept that an engineer, they've a hard hat on and a high-vis vest and they're out on the roads. And that's what the perception of engineering is. I suppose what third level need to do maybe, and what could do for us in DTTA and would help and support engineering teachers nationwide would be break down each individual course or career into a manageable language and understanding for 5th and 6th class students and their parents. I was delighted to hear Catherine there say that they're working with 4th, 5th, 6th class students. To me, that's the most beneficial way of getting students into third level engineering courses, is by educating them when they're in primary to give them the knowledge about the subjects at post-primary. And if you get the students in post-primary and nurture them and encourage them to pursue it, you're more likely to have them take courses at third level, or not. And that's beneficial sometimes too, because their exposure to engineering might highlight, okay, yeah, this isn't for me, I'm going to do veterinary or something else. So it'll that help and support from yourselves, Kevin, would towards us, the DTTA, and putting some again a kind of advertisement campaign or information that engineering teachers could put up on an open night. This is what engineering is about, but that message is common right across the country.
Interesting.
Does that answer your question, Kevin?
It does indeed. Thanks very much. And I suppose one of the things that I would follow on as well, that I think we would notice that in many cases we're trying to convince the mammies and daddies of Ireland. It's not just the students. But thanks very much.
Yeah.
I'd another question, Ronan, there for Barry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Barry, sorry, everyone's getting questions to you today, but I was just wondering, what is your opinion around the challenges of getting girls involved with these at second level with the engineering subjects and maybe keeping them involved?
I suppose that's always a challenge of mine to speak on this area, Michelle, as a male in engineering. And the first thing that I'd have done, I suppose, when I got involved with the executive of the DTTA was to try and encourage an increased female participation in the executive alone. And for the last 2 years, we had Edel Finlayson there come in as our secretary. And myself and Edel go to the third level institutes offering in engineering as a teaching degree to promote the subject. So from getting more female teachers involved, that's an attempt that I've made. The attitude towards female participation is a challenge, as I suppose it's a male dominated sector, and until I think the new junior cycle engineering lends itself to it has become more attractive to female participants. And I suppose historically the junior cycle metalwork projects were maybe based around there was a tractor transport box, there was a tank, there's go-karts, and I suppose more creative thinking around the type of projects that's presented to students. And we're grateful for the last 2 years it's kind of associated with marble machines or kind of a gender neutral theme, which when you're presenting it then to potential first years studying engineering, they're more likely to be interested. But that's a challenge. Again, timetabling, like my own daughter who done her Leaving Cert last year, didn't study engineering, even though she knew the content inside out, as good as myself at times. But her choices were, she wanted to do music, she wanted to do art, and I suppose I couldn't influence her to pick engineering. And then at senior cycle, she wants to do veterinary, so her subjects needed to be chemistry, biology, and she picked a language. So that leaves no room for DCG, engineering or technology. So timetabling and access to resources are the two main ways you can challenge any attitude towards engineering and any attitude towards female participation in engineering. And a multifaceted approach to maybe to the department in relation to increasing the resources available to post-primary schools. And you know, there's great efforts and great advertisement about STEM, but I suppose a review to see that the impact of that decade of a campaign, how influential has it been, and what can be implemented going forward to improve it. So it's something that I write about every year in my journals, in the journal for AGM and our spring journal, and it's something that I'm continuously trying to improve, and I'm welcome to any help and support you could offer, Michelle, in improving that, you know.
Yeah, thanks very much, Barry. You know, it's certainly a huge challenge in the sector.
Yeah.
And I was very interested there what you're saying about applying effectively a gender lens in terms of, you know, the language used, the projects that are being done, you know, so that's a really good approach, which I think at, you know, at any level is worth doing. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle, and thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Barry. We're running close to 2 p.m, so I'm quite quietly conscious of that. I'll bring Kevin Gaughan in here, and on a related aspect, but it was addressed by Barry earlier, but maybe from the third level perspective, Kevin, how might we better communicate the content of our engineering degrees to our prospective second level students?
We know that it works well, you know, in the examples like as Michelle says, the transition year students who come in, it works fabulously. Those students, many of them actually do end up in our engineering courses and do well because of, but obviously we can't bring all of them in on those programs. They're still very limited in the numbers. So I actually think, and I'm very reaching out to teachers, I think could be a very good way to do it. And certainly, Barry, your group would seem to be a key group that we should be talking to, because I think if it's funny, this morning there was an engagement event with career guidance teachers, and while we do try and inform them of the courses, I mean, they're dealing with hundreds of courses, and they're dealing with, so they're really down to the very basics of what points do you need and what does this lead to. But there's no point me trying to explain, well, actually, you know, if a student is good at the, you know, at that level of detail, whereas, and we've talked to some of our own students, say who influenced them in their design, and often subject teachers have been more influential on students than career guidance teachers. So if a student is in your class, Barry, and is doing these projects, and says, gosh, I'd really like to be engineering, you know, someone like yourself could be really, and it's not just, you know, we don't have to kind of fool them into thinking that this is engineering, all engineers like this, but if they come in with a full knowledge of, yeah, and if I can do this, and I'm also willing to, you know, to engage with the science and the maths, and, you know, and design this the best it can be, then really engineering could be a great career for me. So I would love to reach out and talk with, you know, yourself and your colleagues, Barry, in terms of messages, because I think that type of targeted intervention would be superb if we could, you know, work through the engaged teachers rather than the more general talks that we give, which tend to focus on really the basics like CAA points and stuff like that.
Yeah, just on that, Kevin, like Sligo is synonymous with engineering, and I'd often have local companies contact me to see if the students who would be suitable to take up a toolmaking apprenticeship.
Yeah.
For the last, you know, 16 years teaching, I found myself delivering two different curriculums or curriculum. The first one is to prepare your students for the SEC examination. The other one is to prepare my students for going out to companies in Sligo, so that they're able for the apprenticeship, and that they know how to machine and process and you know, change the cutting tools in the machine and all that type of stuff. But at the minute, the syllabus doesn't allow for both. So yeah, that would be very influential in the review of the senior cycle engineering and the senior cycle subjects. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Barry. We've just gone at 2 o'clock, and apologies to anyone if we didn't raise one of their questions through the Q&A. I noticed, Richard, you've had your hand up there. Is that, do you want to raise something with Barry, or would you like to take I have a final question for you?
Okay, I might just before that just comment on Michelle spoke about the Engineers Ireland STEPS program, specifically the Engineering Your Future project, which targets transition years. But STEPS, of course, does have other projects that I think do tackle some of the issues that have been raised in this quite useful discussion. So firstly, of course, that STEPS also engages with primary schools. Now, I know the focus today is on secondary schools, but today's primary school students, of course, are tomorrow's secondary school students. And we do have a very successful program called the Young Engineers Award, which targets primary school students. And again, you would hope that that then is reflected at second level. We also have a project on the Girl Guides badges. Again, part that the target there is trying to overcome the current gender imbalance in engineering. And then probably most relevant for our discussion there, and I think the question in the Q&A, which is related to parents' perceptions, is the work that our STEPS team has done for many years now on Engineers Week. That, of course, while we do have specific engagements with career guidance counsellors and other teachers, and it's great to have Barry on this call, that there is the wider public awareness and parents and potentially even future parents. And I think our work on Engineers Week in terms of some very high profile events, trying to get in the media, trying to demystify what engineering is, trying to highlight role models, really show how engineering is cutting edge and isn't just the hard hats and the muddy boots. I think Engineers Week is very much our flagship week. So that's on the 4th of March next year. And we're already looking for potential events and partners. So please do get in touch with our STEPS team if you'd like to participate.
Thank you, Richard. You covered what I had intended to ask in there, so thanks a million. I will, at this point, we've gone over on time. I hope that was a useful webinar for our attendees. I'd like to thank our panelists for putting the time into their presentations and enlightening us on the issues at hand. And we'll leave it with that. Thanks a million, everyone.
Thanks very much, Ronan.